Welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Last time we entered and beat Jabu Jabu's belly. We also found the Spiritual Stone of Water and Princess Ruto, but for some reason she took the Spiritual Stone and is acting tsundere. But don't worry, it only lasts about 5 seconds before she actually starts coming onto Link. She's known the guy for, 20 minutes, and he hasn't said one word during that whole 20 minutes, and for some reason, she has a crush on him now. We can, however, use that to our advantage, because now that she likes us, she's gonna ask if we want something specific. She says that the Spiritual Stone of Water is really precious to her. The reason why is that her mother gave it to her, and told her that it's the Zora engagement ring, apparently. You can say that you want the Spiritual Stone, or you can say that you don't want anything really, but she's gonna give you the engagement ring. Moving a little fast, you know? I mean, we're only 10 years old, unless it works differently for Zora's. Maybe she's like 30, but she looks like a child. According to the dialogue boxes that Link gets when he gets the second set of spiritual stones, by which I mean the second and third one, he apparently doesn't understand what situations are going on. When he gets to Goron Ruby, he says, or the dialogue says rather, that Link doesn't know what Darunia means by sworn brothers, and for the Zora Sapphire it says Link doesn't understand what she means by most precious possession. But for me, personally, I don't think it's that bad of a deal. I mean, I don't like Ruto specifically, but you know, I'm a fan of swimming and such. I like water, and I'd rather have my water not come from underneath King Zora. That'd be a nice deal. Anyway, the majority of this part is going to be me doing side stuff, by which I mean collecting heart pieces and collecting Skulltulas. There's one Skulltula here, but Skulltulas rarely come out in the morning, so you need to make it nighttime first. And the thing about this area is that it doesn't change from day to night regularly, like in Hyrule Castle or in the field. If you change the time of day in an area that time doesn't pass normally, then instead of standing still and time changing around you, you sort of reset the area and it fades back in at a certain time. The boomerang, thankfully, allows us to get a ton more Skulltulas than we could before, because now we can bring them to us instead of having to go to them. And we need 30. I'm going to get a little more than 30, but we need 30 in order to get the next upgrade from the House of Skulltula. I'll let that be shown when it happens. This little hole right here, you need the Zora scale, or silver scale rather, in order to get into it, but once you do, you end up back at the Lost Woods. The reason I'm here is because there's a Skulltula that I want to get that's inside of the Great Deku Tree. We need to go to the bottom level. It's not that far in. If you go opposite of the direction that the dungeon originally made you go in, so instead of going to where we had to burn a web in order to go through a door, we go through this crawly hole. There's a web that we didn't burn and a wall that we couldn't get through because we didn't have bombs at the point. I didn't mention these before, but there are monsters on the ceiling. They're kind of like larvae of the Goma. They're not that tough to deal with, and you can snipe them out with the slingshot from the entrance of the room so that they won't ever come down. I like doing that more because they actually kind of creep me out. But now that we've revealed this door, we see a room with a Skulltula in it, and a gold Skulltula that you can hear. The cool thing about the boomerang is that it can kill small enemies, but if it doesn't kill them, as in it's considered a large enemy, I guess, it'll instead stun them for a little while, which can allow you to get a jump attack in. The dungeon after collecting this gold Skulltula is a pretty simple task. There are two ways that you can do it. You can either climb back out of the hole that we fell down in order to get to the bottom level of the Great Deku Tree, or you could go even farther down to where the boss room is. In boss rooms, after you've beaten the boss, there's usually this blue light that appears. and it'll take you out of the dungeon. If you come back to a dungeon after beating the boss, that blue light is still there, so you can use it to kind of fast travel out of the dungeon. There's gonna be another method that we can use to get out of dungeons quickly, but it's not very useful right now because we don't have the means to use it. In Lonon Ranch, there are 3 gold Skulltulas that I have yet to collect, 2 of which that I can't get unless I have the boomerang. One of them I could have gotten before, but I decided to get them all in one fell swoop. The ranch at night doesn't have much going on, except there are enemies now. They kind of fly about, those birds that you can see. They're called like guays or something like that. It's like Guay. They're not very intrusive enemies. They kind of just mind their own business if you stay on the edges. Although one of them is going to try to attack me. They don't do very much damage. They do like half a heart, I believe. And they're not really worth killing if you're trying to get through things quickly. Something that I just realized that you can do that I don't do in this part is that after collecting everything that you need to collect in an area, instead of walking back to the entrance to leave that way, if it's an area where time doesn't change, so Lonon Ranch, Kakariko Forest, the market, stuff like that, if you play the Sun Song, you'll basically warp to the entrance that you came from. It's useful, it makes things go by faster, but for some reason, I don't do it because I'm a doof and I forgot. Instead, I'm just going to walk back really slowly. Sadly, the bunny hood doesn't give you any increase in speed like it does in the next game. It just makes it so Skulltulas don't... not Skulltulas. Skull Kids. Or no, not Skull Kids either. Stall Children don't appear. Jeez, I am having a horrible time. The next Skulltula that I'm going to be collecting is out in Hyrule Field. It's in a grotto. It's close to where Gerudo Desert is. And you could collect it at any time of day because it is in a grotto. And there's no day-night cycle in grottos. Or at least it doesn't change depending on whether or not it's day or night. I'm pretty sure when you're inside of areas, so an example being in the graveyard, well, not in the graveyard, in the giant grave in the graveyard where we got the Sun Song originally, we could play it without changing the time of day, and it would stun the redeads only instead of changing the time of day and stunning the redeads. So it doesn't count. It's like otherworldly, I suppose. But we need bombs in order to get it, and of course also the boomerang, because it's super high up and we can't reach it unless we have the boomerang. This circle of rocks here, it might not look suspicious. Well, it should, because it's a circle of rocks. If you bomb it, a grotto appears. Again, Rumble Pack helps out in terms of noticing where secrets are. There's a bunch of spider webs everywhere, but I'm going to be using Din's Fire to burn them all, because we don't have a torch or anything. And that Sheikah Stone is spazzing out over there. Or Gossip Stone, rather. Sheikah Stones are completely different. There's a regular Skulltula in here, but that's not what we're looking for, and I can't get behind him, even though there's clearly enough space, so I'm just going to blow him up. The Skulltula isn't here. It's near the cow. There's also a cow down here, by the way. And it's up on that spider web. How very fitting. I think this one actually brings us up to 30, but I'm going to be collecting some more because it makes it easier to get the higher prizes, like the one for 40 and 50, even though we don't particularly need them, nor can we get all of them at this point. In Gerudo Valley, or Gerudo Valley, the home of awesome music, if you turn into nighttime, there's going to be a Skulltula that appears where that hole is that's spouting water right there. Again, the boomerang is required in order to obtain this one. There's just so much stuff opens up after obtaining the boomerang. It's unreal. There's also part of the mask side quest that opens up after getting the boomerang, but we're not going to be dealing with that for now. Not until after we've gotten the prize for collecting all the, well, not all, but 30 gold Skulltulas. And I'm going to exit this area in style. I will take my cuckoo and I will fly off the edge into Lake Hylia. Actually, that's not true. I'm not going to fly into Lake Hylia. It looks like I will, because that's where this area leads to. But thanks to my super awesome editing powers, we're going to be going instead to Kakariko. The graveyard has a Skulltula at night on a wall near the top. Well, it looks like the top right corner normally, but on the map it's the bottom right. Normally, I mean in terms of it being a 3D space and where you enter from being the bottom. Anyway, now that we have this one, we can finally go to the House of Skulltula. We have like 32 Skulltulas at this point, I believe. And the prize for 30 isn't that great. I just like to have it because I like having stuff. But it's the biggest wallet you can have in the game. It's a 500 rupee wallet. I think it's called the Giant's Wallet. And there's only one item, I believe, that costs more than 200 rupees. So it's the only reason you'll ever need the Giant's Wallet. And it's also an item that you can get for free later on in the game. So it's kind of useless. Here in Hyrule Field, the fourth person that wants to buy a mask will appear after you've beat the third dungeon. He's the Running Man. He's become like a staple in the Zelda series, kind of being the postman. And I guess he kind of appears in A Link to the Past, where there's a guy in red that you have to chase, and if you have the Pegasus boots, you can catch up to him, and I kind of forget what happens, but you want it to be daytime, I think, when you find him, because at night I think he kind of rests, and while he's running around I think he's easier to find, because there's a set path that he takes around Lonon Ranch, kind of going along the path. In a little bit we can see him running along. Oh, he's on the right. There he is. Once you meet up with him, you want to turn it to night again, because at nighttime he'll sit down and take a rest. And that's the only time you can talk to him. If he's running around, then you can't speak to him at all. And he's going to want the bunny hood, although I'm not going to talk to him to learn that he wants the bunny hood. But there is kind of a hint on his body. If you look at him correctly, thank you, there's a little bunny badge or something, or band, going around his shirt. At least, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a bunny. He's going to take his sweet time to stop though, so I'm just going to kind of have a little bit of fun, throw my boomerang around, show off my epic, I don't know, one frame blocking skills or something. Look at this. These are the skills of a master. You can't handle this. What am I even doing? Alright, once he sits down to rest, whenever that happens, I think it's happening right now, thank you. You can talk to him with the bunny hood on, and he talks about hearing voices of the wild or something like that. And you can sell him the mask. He doesn't say how much he'll buy it for. I mean, nobody ever does. But the mask costs 50 rupees normally. He'll instead give you enough money to fill whatever wallet you have at that point. Since I got the Giant's Wallet, he will give me 500 rupees, which is the max I can carry. And that rupee sound will persist until I get 500, which is kind of annoying, but I'm almost there, so it's fine. Everything's fine. Now I'm maskless. As you can see, there's some torches lit around Hyrule Castle. It's becoming daytime, and while it's daytime, the drawbridge is still up. At least in this specific situation. After beating the third dungeon, the drawbridge stays up. And something very familiar will play out. Something that we saw at the very beginning of the game. Kinda sucks that the drawbridge is up because I wanted to give that last mask money, well, that last bit of mask money rather, to the Happy Mask Salesman. if you don't give it to him, or if you try to give him money but you don't have enough for whatever the mask cost was, he'll have this angry face, and that's about it. He'll just say, go get my money. Anyway, this scene is playing out in a way that we've seen before. The drawbridge goes down, a white horse comes out of nowhere, literally, like it popped in. And there's a girl on the horse. This is a little different though. She throws something into the water. And now we finally get to be face to face with the antagonist of this game, Ganondorf. Hello, you ginger. Something that I didn't talk about before, and this is true of all Gerudos, he has rounded ears rather than pointy ones like Hylians or Kokiri, yeah. And he actually has dialogue. This is different from before. Link is going to stand his ground and not tell Ganondorf where the princess and Impa went. Brave, but, you know, he's still a child. He's not able to deal with Ganondorf at this point. Something special about Ganondorf that probably isn't super, you know, it's not something probably worth mentioning, but the way his dialogue is that, you know how sometimes like Microsoft Word or something, you're given an option to where you want your dialogue to start, or your document to start rather, and you could either have it start at the left, start at the right, or start in the middle. Ganondorf has it to where it starts in the middle for some reason. Everyone else has it to where it starts in the left. I guess that means he's special. He's transcended the bonds of humanity and become something more. A demon, king, prince of evil, whatever you want to call him. Anyway, now Hyrule Castle is open. But first we need to get whatever Zelda dropped into a water, and it looks suspiciously like an ocarina, but it's blue, so that makes it better. Yes, it's the Ocarina of Time. And it immediately replaces your fairy ocarina. Even in the little sea item shortcut thing, if you have the fairy ocarina equipped, as soon as you pick up the Ocarina of Time, it replaces it. Of course, Link knows how to use it, even though the holes are different on the ocarina, so he'd need to learn new finger positions and such. But, you know, whatever, it's Link. He can master any item he comes across. Zelda here is speaking telepathically to us and is going to teach us how to open the door of time using the Ocarina of Time and the Song of Time. The Song of Time is one of my favorite Ocarina songs, although that's probably something like Stockholm Syndrome because I had to use it so many times in the sequel game. And in this game, it's used quite a lot for some specific situations. Thankfully for us, the game is merciful with this cutscene. It started with us jumping into the water and grabbing the Ocarina of Time, but it's gonna end with us standing right outside the drawbridge. So instead of having to swim to the edge of the moat, get out the water, and then walk back to the front of the drawbridge, we're just standing in front of the drawbridge as we come back in. So, you know, it makes it easier for us to get inside and go to the Temple of Time, to play the Song of Time, to open the Door of Time. Did I mention that the name of the game is Ocarina of Time? The dialogue of the NPCs in here will actually change because we've gotten to this point in the game and Ganondorf and stuff happened. There are these two people, I don't know if they're brothers, but those right there near the tree, they usually have some pretty interesting dialogue. For example, after beating the second dungeon, they talk about how one of them got stuck in a hole trying to escape while in the Hyrule Castle field. And that hole is what leads to the Great Fairy. So it kind of gives you a hint to that. And if you talk to them now, one of them is talking about how he swears he saw Ganondorf chasing after some people on a white horse or something like that. And there's this guard here who kind of relays a final message to us. telling us that Zelda wanted to give us something really important, that being the Ocarina of Time. And he's telling us to go to the Temple of Time again, kind of just, confirming what just... Oh god. He's not moving anymore. This is our fault. If we didn't talk to him, he wouldn't be just stuck there. Although he'd probably be in agonizing pain for the rest of his life, just sitting there doing nothing. So I guess it was a mercy killing, alright? Anyway, we got our last mask sold. So we pay him back the 50 rupees. Doesn't set us back that much because it's only about 10% of our wallet right now, where before it would have been like either half or 25% of it. And now we get a new mask, the Mask of Truth. It allows us to see into people's minds and talk to gossip stones. Well, not really talk, listen to gossip stones. Excuse me. Listen to gossip stones. Before, all we could really do with a gossip stone is show off some funny stuff. Like if you put a bomb near one, it'll kind of rocket into the air and then explode. If you used Inspire near one, as we saw before, it would kind of spin around really fast and stretch. And if you slash it with your sword, it'll tell you what time of day it is. If you talk to one with the Mask of Truth on, you'll get some trivia about the game. There's a gossip stone in Lake Hylia, kind of way in the back, like really far away, opposite corner of where you enter, actually. And it tells you that if you press B while in water, you swim faster. These give you little tidbits about a couple different things, like that you can't use glasses in the treasure chest shop, which kind of gives you a hint as to a certain item that we're going to be getting later to make the treasure shop easier. Stuff about Malin, like wanting a knight to come and sweep her off her feet. And stuff about the Gerudos, which are an all-woman race, looking for boyfriends here in the field. There are also some other masks that we can borrow. The Zora mask, the Gerudo mask, and the Goron mask. All they do is really give you flavor text. We could also borrow any of the previous masks that we used to sell. Again, they're not very purposeful. I find that the Mask of Truth is the most useful one out of all of them. But we're at the Temple of Time. All we have to do is play the Song of Time and get through that door next time.